Wanting to explore an area of art that would be new to me, and having a desire to push myself and get messy within my practice, I decided to investigate abstract expressionist art. An almost cliched introduction into such an art practice, I first researched into Jackson Pollock, a leading American painter in the abstract expressionist movement, active in the 1930s, 40s and 50s. It was his process, more than his actual pieces, that I found to be inspiring. In particular, his famous drip method and the way he would stand over his canvases were the techniques I ended up using most throughout the year. Although finding a lot of his pieces a little too hectic, I took inspiration from the freedom that Pollock had, and I do appreciate how his paintings evoke a feeling, or at least they do in me, often a trademark I look for in a good piece. I also found myself liking the works of other second-generation abstract expressionist artists, such as Joan Mitchell, Helen Frankenthaler, Jean-Paul Riopel, and Norman Bloom. Another artist who I found to be extremely influential in my painting work is Sam Francis. Like Pollock, I love to see the lack of order and regime in Francis's pieces that give them a liberating feel, and found I preferred Francis's work in both his choice of colours and the positioning and volume of his brushstrokes and paint splatters. It was after looking into Francis that I realised all of my work so far had been centrally focused, and therefore led me to push myself further into focusing on the edges of the canvas. Beyond that, it was also Francis's pieces that led me to investigate stencils to create a more interesting image. I began to appreciate the image of a black and white piece after seeing his works One of a Kind and Burnout, as I like the high contrast of black and white together, and the way some of them reminded me of a Rorschach test. Despite investigating thicker and stronger variations, I realized paper would not be a suitable material for me, due to either how it warped under the pressure of the paint, or the way the paint discolored the page. Instead, sheets of plastic became my canvas. Due to the smooth surfaces of the plastic sheets, primers were now necessary in my work to ensure the paint adhered to the canvas. With my medium now decided, I began again and created a number of unplanned pieces varying in colour tones. I experimented with a few ideas and methods this year, including using stencils in my work, as well as painting without paint, wherein I created a few backgrounds using pencil and chalk and took photos from above through a layer of water and oil, the bubbles creating these beautiful images. The use of a camera was vital in this work, as I had to capture the split seconds where the bubbles looked as they did. Without using a camera, it would have been impossible to share my work and what I had created. It was intriguing, using water and oil as a medium, as I found I had far less control than when creating pieces using paints. This was positive for me, however, as my practice has been focused on less predictable creating processes. In my research, I came across Japanese artist Ushio Shinohara, who creates his work by dipping boxing gloves into paint and physically punching the medium onto his canvas. Shinohara, alongside Anish Kapoor's sculpture Shooting into the Corner, inspired me to try my own hand at shooting paint onto the canvas. However, throughout these experiments, and throughout the previous experiments wherein I tried to create paintings without paint, I discovered that whilst creating the paintings was enjoyable, I was far more interested and impassioned by photographing and recording my process. I preferred images of my work whilst they were still wet and freshly created, as I feel they held more life and passion. Going back to Pollock's dripping method, I focused on capturing the moment the paint hits the canvas and the splashes created from the area of impact. The colour red became my main focus of colour, as I find it elicits more of an emotion than other colours, possibly due to its association with love or blood, two highly emotive subjects. I tested my theory, but even just looking at my equipment, without the pieces themselves. The fact that I have used a red paint makes the equipment look far more sinister than it would be if, say, it was blue. Studying art and technology this year has given me more confidence to include digital technologies within my practices, such as photography and video recording, and it is my hopes next year to include interactive aspect to my work. My plans for the future are to evolve my video pieces into interactive works, including distance sensors or pressure pads that allow the audience to affect the speed at which the drips are shown.